You're watching PowerNation. Today on Engine Power, we ditch the boost, ditch our stock heads, and let our 460 big block Ford breathe naturally.
Hey everyone, welcome to Engine Power. Today we are going to be revisiting a project we did a while back that was a lot of fun. This is our 460 big block Ford. Now, this was a fun project that was relatively easy to do and it cranked out some great power. But like a lot of projects around here, we're going to reuse it for another project. So it is time to get it reconfigured.
What he means by reconfigured is that we're actually going to be taking the boost off of this engine. That's why we're going to be taking the turbo off. Now, obviously, we're going to give up some power, but the main requirement for the project this is going in is that it be naturally aspirated so it goes in nice and easy. So we're going to be making some upgrades today on the induction side to help up the NA power, but we know what it makes as it sits. And if you forgot, here's a quick look at all the upgrades this 460 has gotten already.
This engine started out as a bone stock 460 that we stuck a 76mm turbo on to make a budget-based 494.5 horsepower and 724.3 pound-feet before we brought it in for the first round of upgrades. We wanted to improve the durability of the engine by swapping out some of the stock internal components for some heavier duty options, including a set of forged Summit Racing H-beam rods and a set of forged pistons.
We also converted the engine to a mild hydraulic roller cam, installed a deep 4x4 oil pan, a set of roller rockers, and topped it off with an Edelbrock air gap intake manifold. Naturally aspirated, it picked up to 379.1 horsepower and 480 pound-feet, and with our tougher parts, we felt comfortable putting the turbo back on and making 568 horsepower and 769 pound-feet on 9.5 psi boost with pump gas. First up, and to the chagrin of all lovers of boost, the turbo system is being removed. Starting with the wastegates, followed closely by the dyno-specific custom crossover pipe. Next up, to get better access to the turbo, our serpentine accessory setup is taken off. This VS Racing 76mm turbo worked awesome for this application, but it is going back on the part shelf to be used another day.
The plug wires and distributor will be removed and reused later on. Our stock cast iron exhaust manifolds are relieved of their service and will be stuck in the reuse at a later date pile. Moving on to the top side of the engine, the Edelbrock dual plane intake is chiseled free from the adapters. We will be reusing it on the new combo. Speaking of those adapters, they were necessary to put the older style intake on the newer style EFI iron heads. So we removed the bolts and once again wedged some sharp gasket scrapers in between them and the head to pry them off. These adapters will stay with the iron heads along with the valley plate.
To gain access to the valve train, our valve covers get unbolted. And to make the engine easier to turn over, we zip out all the spark bolts. The only part of the valve train that will be reused are the hydraulic roller lifters, and we keep them and everything else in order as they come out. We remove everything at TDC compression stroke per cylinder in the engine's firing order. This makes it easy to keep it in order and to minimize the load on parts as they're taken off.
Before we can get to the head bolts, the valve cover adapters have to go away. They were necessary to be able to run our cool old school valve covers. Like the head adapters, they were sealed on super good. Next, the massive ARP head bolts are broken loose and zipped out so the heavy stock cast iron heads can come off. A quick tip, don't assume the dowels are holding the head on. Frankie almost had a bad day if it wasn't for his cat-like reflexes.
Moving on to the front of the engine, the water pump is unbolted, and the balancer is taken off along with the external front counterweight so we can get to the front timing cover. Initially, we had planned on carefully removing the cover to save the oil pan gasket underneath, but it didn't work out. The timing set and cam thrust plate comes off. Then, while Pat is draining the oil to remove the oil pan to change the gasket we now have to change, The slightly used roller cam is gently slid out of the block. With that, we are pretty much ready to start the reassembly of our 460.
Up next, our stripped 460 starts going back together with a bigger bump stick, free-flowing heads, and a brand new EFI system.
Okay, so now we can move on to the reassembly of our 460, starting with our new hydraulic roller camshaft. The cam we had before worked great, but it was really geared towards low RPM torque. So we're gonna make a little bit of a change on the cam, something a little bit more aggressive so it complements the high flowing cylinder heads we're gonna be using, which we'll show you in a little bit. But this cam has a little bit more duration on the intake and a lot more duration on the exhaust. It has specs at 50 for the intake of 227 degrees. On the exhaust, it is 241 degrees at 50. The lobes are set on a 107 degree lobe separation angle, and lift at the valve is 580 thousandths on the intake with a 1/8 rocker, and lift at the valve on the exhaust is 562 with a 1/8 rocker. We'll get this slid in, and then we can degree it. We're gonna set our intake center line at 105.75, which is 1¼ degrees advanced.
With the camshaft and timing set ready to rock, we reinstall the front timing cover. We use the external counterweight to center the cover before the fasteners are tightened up. That gets followed by the installation of the water pump assembly. The stock balancer gets put back in place with the proper tool, not a hammer.
For our new head gaskets, we chose Cometic MLSs with a 4500 bore and a 27 thousandths compressed thickness.
Aside from the camshaft, the other significant upgrade on our combination is a set of Edelbrock Performer RPM cylinder heads we picked up from Summit Racing Equipment. These feature a 292cc intake port and 100cc exhaust port. They also have a 75cc combustion chamber. Now, keep in mind, our old iron heads had a 100cc combustion chamber. Our new one's 75cc, so that gives us a significant bump in compression. From the iron heads having an 8.49 to 1 compression ratio to our new ones have a calculated compression of 10.59 to 1, over 2 points. And these are set up to run right out of the box. Set up for our hydraulic roller valve train with these springs, and also they have a 2190 intake valve, 1760 exhaust valve, significantly increasing the flow. Also, to make it even better, these save 25 pounds a piece, so they're significantly lighter than our iron ones, keeping us and our engine a little bit lighter.
Since we have a new set of cylinder heads, we also needed a new set of cylinder head bolts because these Edelbrock heads have different column heights than the stock ones. So we reached out to ARP and got a new head bolt kit. This is part number 1553603. This is a head bolt kit specific for the Edelbrock heads, but it's made of the same material. It is an 8740 Chromoly material that is a really high strength. It is 180,000 PSI of tensile strength, which is way higher than the stock fasteners or even a grade 8 that you would find from the hardware store. The best part is ARP has done all of the research to make sure that these are dimensionally correct and have the correct amount of thread engagement with the block when they stick out of the heads. Now, these have very specific instructions for getting them ready and for torquing them, so we've gone ahead and cleaned them with lacquer thinner and then prepped them with their ARP Ultra Torque lubricant on the threads and between the washer and the head of the bolt. And we're going to torque them in sequence to the recommended value that ARP has, which is 140 pound-feet. It's not the stock recommendation, it is ARP's recommendation, so we get the correct amount of clamp load and it is consistent. So we'll get these in and get them torqued up.
It is important to follow the included instructions from ARP to get accurate clamping force. excellent.
Big torque, big clamp.
Coming up, we top off our upgraded 460 build to see if we can top our previous naturally aspirated numbers on the dyno.
All right, we're continuing on with our 460 build. We're gonna start getting the valve train in and finish up the assembly. The next order of operations is to install the previously run hydraulic roller lifters along with a new set of trick flow Chromoly 3/8 diameter push rods that are 8/100 long with an 80 thousandths wall thickness. That is followed by a new set of 1.8 ratio comp cams Pro Magnum XD steel rocker arms. After that, the rockers are adjusted in the firing order to 1/2 turn past 0 lash.
Time to reinstall the induction, which consists of an Edelbrock Performer RPM air gap. It is torqued down in multiple stages for complete gasket compression to 35 pound-feet. Wrapping up, we put on our old school chrome valve covers, followed closely by the rest of the front accessory drive. With all that done, we are now ready to make some naturally aspirated power on the dyno.
Since we are just running this engine naturally aspirated this time, it gives us a great opportunity to try out something new from Holley, and that is their Sniper 2 EFI unit. This is very similar to the first generation, but has some improvements that Holley has made to make it better for the user. Namely, they have done a ton to improve the RF noise interference around the ECU. It has a very clean wiring layout where all the wires come out of the rear of the unit. All of the wiring connections are made into a single connector. It has an improved USB connector, so it has a screw type connector that's much more positive when you're engaging it. It has the same simple wiring harness. It only takes 4 wires to hook it up and get it running. Comes included with an oxygen sensor that you can put in the exhaust. And you can do all the setup and tuning with the standard 3.5-inch screen with the unit. But if you really wanted to, Holley has come out with something brand new, and that is a Bluetooth module that plugs into the unit so you can do all the setup, wizard, all the tuning, and monitor all the vitals of the engine right on your phone or tablet. So that's super cool, and we're really excited to try it. So we're going to get it on this engine and get this thing running. Coming up, we get big power, big torque, and big gains out of our big block 4. All right, so we have our 460 on the dyno and running the Sniper 2 on top, fired right up. Been letting it learn, doing some preliminary pulls, just trying to get it to learn the fuel. Been monitoring it on my cellular device here, which is pretty cool actually. This has all the stuff that you want to look at. You can monitor all the sensors, you can monitor all the fueling and all of that. So this is going to be pretty cool to see how fast this thing learns during wide open throttle. And you ready to make a pull?
Yeah, no, we're ready to rock and roll here. I've upped the upper limit of the dyno pull to 6,000 because we got a little bit better spring. I think the heads are a little bit better. In fact, I know the heads are a little bit better.
Yeah.
So we're going to go from 2,500 to 6,000. So what I love about these fuel injection units like this particular Sniper 2, when you're diving into it, it doesn't have any stumble, it doesn't have anything. They just work like immediately.
Yeah.
The actual part where it's learning takes a little bit of time, but initially they are hot to trot right out of the box here. So here we go.
There you go. Hit it.
Say smooth as glass.
Yeah.
glides right through the pole like nothing.
Yeah.
Now that's 30 degrees of timing in
Yep.
it. So
Those AFRs were tracking
woo,
awesome. Look
look
at
at
that. 554.8 pound-feet and 519.1 horsepower.
that's super nice.
So peak power at 5,900, and let's see, peak torque right at 3,800.
Yeah,
so,
no, that's like super nice.
yeah, and like this engine still, I mean, originally when we did all the turbo stuff, it was like low RPM towing engine. It's kind of still is that. Now this is the NA version almost, because you know what it's going in doesn't really have the room for the turbos, and it's a lot of fab work, so they just wanted something more simple. But I would still consider this a relatively low RPM engine.
Yes.
And it makes way more torque than it did naturally aspirated with the stock head. Yeah.
That is pretty good.
I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, and this is a mild engine. Like, this
Very
isn't
mild.
crazy. It's not a high compression engine. It's not a large duration camshaft.
Right.
It's not a very large CC head. It's, you know, sized appropriately for the RPM range that we're going to be running it in. And I think that those are just good all-around numbers.
Absolutely. We're not building a comp eliminator engine.
No, no.
This
But,
is a dual plane and a sniper on it. So
yeah.
I guess I'll
fuzz on it a little bit.
We'll just do a little bit of tweak and
Put some
and
timing in
you
it.
know how to do it, man.
Yeah.
Put some time in it.
All right, I put 2 degrees of timing in it, so now we're at 32 total,
Okay.
and we'll see what that does.
All right, well that's easy enough.
But nothing was leaking, nothing fell off the engine.
No, this is like
Runs great,
This is
right,
like
you know?
grandma's station wagon
Yeah.
right here. Here we go. Super nice transition.
Just throw it right in there.
Good oil pressure.
I think I might have saw some numbers tweaked in
This is
there.
like a walk in the park here.
Oh yeah,
I have
560 pound-feet
Yeah, 560.
and 523.5 horsepower. That is improvement.
That's an improvement. Air fuels are spot on.
Yep.
I like it when you're actually targeting something and it actually hits it, you know. So,
Yeah. And,
nice thing about these type of operations, if we're out there saying, okay, we got to put a jet in there too, or that's we're doing it from the convenience of your phone.
And literally, it's like, I mean, right now, I would say this is a pretty conservative tune-up because we're still in 93 octane pump gas,
Right.
so it's targeting 13.0 for an air fuel, but we have vacuum in the crankcase from those evacs, which
Yep.
is awesome. Almost 2 inches.
Yeah, 2 inches of vacuum in the pan
crankcase,
just
which
from
is
running
awesome.
evacs.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of evacuation systems like
Yeah.
that. All right, well, we'll keep going. The normal way we do it is we just keep sticking timing in it till
Yep.
it levels off. You can get it into a thing with pump gas where you start over-timing it. It'll start detonating immediately because
Yeah.
the gas is bad, right?
But we'll see that. Right now, we're still picking up power, so I say we keep going
Right.
until it stops picking up power.
2 more degrees.
Yeah. All right, we have 34 degrees of timing now,
Ooh.
and
Racy.
see what happens. It'll either make more, the same, or less.
Here we go. Notice how I left my glasses on so I could see what
So
was
you
going
can see
on.
the numbers,
Yeah,
yeah.
because we actually picked up a little bit. Say, yeah, look at
Oh,
that. Yep.
snap.
533 on horse pressures and 565 on torque.
Yeah. Yep, 565 at 3,900, 533.6 at 5,900.
Yeah, all right,
Wow.
that is an improvement.
That's a big jump too, yeah.
The graph, everything's starting
Moves
to learn
out.
up nice. The graph is getting nice and smooth. You want to keep going, we can.
I mean, I'd say we kind of have to because, I'd say we just have to go until it stops making more. So I'm going to go put another 2 in it, and we'll see.
We're just going to keep going. All right, 2 more degrees, so we're at 36 degrees of timing, and that's normally about what an aluminum-headed deal stops at. There are some things, depending on what kind of pistons in it, depending on what kind of manifolds on it, depending on what kind of inductions on it, they all do different things. But typically, when you're into the over 35-degree range, that's when things, one will be a little bit better than the other, depending on how much timing's in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to find out right now. I don't know. That was too close to call. When you're watching like oil pressure,
yeah, that's pretty much it.
That is pretty much it. So that one made, actually the same made 533 for horsepower, 565 pound-feet. So I think we are right there. Air fuels look good. Oil pressure still looks fantastical.
Yep, I think that's probably going to be it for timing.
We like doing all kinds of stuff just to show people what you can do with parts. And there's 100 different iterations we could do with this.
Yeah.
The one that we've just completed with the cam, headers, that intake, and that EFI, which works spectacular, by the way. I think this is a win all the way around.
Yeah, I would agree.
Good night, success.
For more high-power engine builds like this one, you can find engine power on PowerNation.